Dear netizens, this is a follow-up to the White House argument incident. Actually, this is not merely a White House argument incident. It's because the United States wants to lead the Russia-Ukraine peace talks in this situation. Finally, it is actually, in fact, the entire Europe, led by the UK and France, that has made a response. This is, without a doubt, indeed one of the most important geopolitical changes of the 21st century, you could say. It's a geopolitical change for the entire world. You need to listen carefully to understand this matter. On March 2nd, he had held several phone conferences. It's different. He summoned people to gather in London, Lancaster, hold EU Leaders Summit. In person, some people rushed over. Prime Minister Sunak presided over it. Ukrainian PM Zelensky. Leaders of a dozen European countries joined. Let's first see who attended. French Macron present. Italian Prime Minister from France. Italy, Canada, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, Spain, Poland, Finland, Sweden, Czech Republic, Romania, and Turkey. Turkey is not EU country, but it is a NATO country. It is NATO. All the important countries are indeed present. Hardly anyone is absent. Romania is not present. NATO Secretary General Rutte, European Commission, and European Council President Costa were all present. Take a look. This is a showcase. UK PM's announcement. There are 3 discussion points for this summit. Strengthening Ukraine. That is, improving Ukraine's situation. Ukraine is doing well now, beating the Russian military. Progress of Russian military has stalled, including more military aid and increasing economic pressure on Russia. Further sanctioning Russia. Scholz emphasized at the summit. Now is not the time to hold. More needing. No time to talk. It's time to take action, to stand up, lead and work towards achieving justice. New plan for lasting peace. It's time to unite. Immediate action is needed. That is, I believe, the Trump administration to negotiate. Ignoring Ukraine, Europe, is extremely absurd. Any peace without Ukraine, Europe, is completely unsustainable. Sergey Run, the summit, introduced his previous meeting with Trump. It was actually peaceful. It was with a peaceful person. I had a good talk with him. That's how it was. On the day of the summit, he announced owing Ukraine £1.6 billion UK to purchase 5,000 anti-aircraft missiles, strengthen Ukraine's military strength, another £1.6 billion. This is over £3 billion already provided. £3 billion, £5 billion. I tell you, if the U.S., ignores it, when the U.S. takes action, Europe will definitely utilize the $300 billion of Russia in Brussels to aid Ukraine, rebuild military forces. No more talks with Russia. They will confiscate $300 billion. That's a lot of money. Before the meeting, it was stated, he said this, trust Trump. It's about not trusting Trump. He trusts Zelensky, but does not trust Putin. He denied political demand, cancel invitation Trump for a state visit to the UK. On that day, a week earlier, when he went to Washington, he brought the letter from King Charles, inviting Trump to visit the UK again for a state visit. Trump has visited the UK on a state visit, twice for state visits. To stay at Buckingham Palace, This is a very grand affair. British monarch bid him. Not many heads have faced this. First time King Charles. The summit concluded, indicating several countries are willing to maintain the Ukraine peace agreement. He cannot go through the EU system, nor through the NATO system. Those countries will face opposition. Now about who's willing to do. The UK and France are leading and willing to step up. Per European diplomatic sources, several countries not invited. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. The UK didn't invite them. They are extremely unhappy because they won't participate, because they are concerned. The 3 Baltic states are countries that were annexed by Russia for a long time, and within them, 20 to 30% are Russians. If Russia indeed successfully annexes Ukraine, it'll be their turn next, again with claims that you are bullying Russians, using a heavy-handed plan. After the summit, in an interview with the BBC, the UK, France, and Ukraine drafted a ceasefire plan. Up to US. He agreed the ceasefire plan, gave it to the United States. The United States wanted to lead by sidelining Europe and Ukraine. Deal with the US. How it's different. They came up with a plan involving Europe and the UK-US. The UK, France, and Ukraine presented to United States. Did not sideline you, America. Collaboration of UK, France, and Ukraine. This needs to be maintained with strength. Ukraine's actions. UK proposed a coalition to give security guarantees Ukraine, meaning who is willing to back Ukraine, secure Ukraine's future, in case Ukraine is invaded. This is like a mini NATO. If anyone dares to attack Ukraine, these countries would join the war. Simply put, the UK and France leading, with 1 or 2 other countries, the UK and France taking the lead. The chance of Italy joining is very small. Spain, several important countries. Spain's joining. The Netherlands might potentially join. These Nordic countries might join. The UK and France forming coalition force. This is an elite force, 30,000 people. If other countries join in, the 50,000-strong army, think about it, and then provide a lot of military equipment Ukraine. Ukraine is currently at a stalemate with the Russian army, as long as a formidable 50,000-strong elite force is added. It can defeat Russia, capable defeating Russia. Erdogan said, "We agree, the UK, France, and 2 other countries, to come up with a ceasefire plan. We will discuss this plan with the United States. That is, their security plan is form army, simply put. Ceasefire, but I station an army there. Negotiate. You cannot threaten Ukraine. This army doesn't need people to lead force. With their force, 50,000 people are enough to enable Ukraine to win. Russia can't win normal war. It's simple. Stationed on the ground and operating in the air, with planes in the sky and armaments on the ground. The formation of this parliamentary alliance was discussed by Sunak and Zelensky on Downing Street, and subsequently with Trump and French President Macron. They use force defend Ukraine. Moreover, Erdogan said, European countries need act. They cannot just sit here and wait. Europeans are leading this dialogue in action. What's this mean? Put simply, with European countries as a backing, Russia knows. Normal war, you can never win. Now you're at a stalemate with Ukraine, with backing, the UK, France, Sweden. If the Dutch army there, 50,000, are enough to defeat 200,000 to 300,000 Russian troops, they go. And once they go, With air aid, Russia loses its advantage. The battlefield is reversed. The leaders interested in participating in the plan quickly return how all to mobilize their troops. They don't need to fear you, because Russia can't have the strength to fight others. Russia's empty city strategy. They've gathered their military. Russian troops suffered 800,000 casualties. Russia currently doesn't have enough military power to threaten European countries elsewhere. Meanwhile, no way to ensure the U.S. will participate. The U.S. said not to join, sending troops to Ukraine. Europe must take on the heavy responsibility. Some countries are already prepared. Defend ceasefire agreement. Ceasefire. They will send troops. Talks. It's a ceasefire. Troops will be sent in and then continuously supply military equipment, arming Ukraine with Ukrainian forces. The French president spoke to Le Figaro. He and Zelensky are working hard. There, at sea in Ukraine, a 1-month truce was agreed. Yes, those people are accusing Zelensky of saying he wants. Not true. Zelensky desires peace, ceasefire. But after the ceasefire, what guarantees are there that Russia will not violate the ceasefire? Russia has broken the ceasefire 25 times. He mentioned this at the White House that day. The UK and France reacted. As long there is a ceasefire, they send military force, deploying the Air Force. Russia would not dare to violate ceasefire because Russia cannot win. Russia cannot win as long as the UK and France's air force is deployed. Air defense has air defense units. It would be a big problem. Russia's attack on Ukraine relies on the air force dropping those glide bombs. Yes, glide bombs weighing 2 to 3 tons to destroy Ukrainian defense lines. Otherwise, they have no way to advance. The UK is ready to deploy troops, such as plans in the UK and France to take the win, deploying troops. This plan, they want to involve the US, making it difficult for the US to split Europe-Ukraine. We will not leave. We are all partners. You know UK is US's #1 partner, keeping closely in step with the US. U.S. will provide support. Basis discussion. The U.S. won't send troops in. Use satellites to protect. Telecom. Electronic. This transport aircraft. Is it okay? The U.S. is an indispensable partner for European security. Europe has never matured to leave the U.S. Now they must hold the U.S. He will persuade the U.S. side adopt to provide support to European forces, or at least have a final line of defense. That is to say, if British and French forces are attacked, will the U.S. respond? This final line of defense, or if Russia uses nuclear weapons, what's the U.S. response? To ensure that Russia dares not provoke war again in the future. At the summit, Johnson and Macron stated they are prepared to send British and French troops to Ukraine, keep the ceasefire. Italy, but is hesitant. Italy, he and Elon Musk both have. After the summit, everyone reached 4 consensuses to continue providing military aid to Ukraine in wartime and to increase pressure on Russia. Enhance Ukraine's military capabilities. The United States is not involved. It is said that, according to news reports, a rumor is Ukraine says money needed to win this war, 250. This 250 come from Russia's $300 billion, which is estimated to be. Secondly, if anyone talks about peace, it must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security. Trump did not mention this matter at all. Stresses Ukraine's sovereignty. Of course, this makes people uneasy, and Ukraine must be involved in any peace negotiations. Without Ukraine, there can be no talks on Ukraine issue. This is something any sensible person knows. How wrong Trump is. He keeps saying, Zelensky, you are not fighting. You're not fighting, but mind other. When two people are fighting, go mediate. You can also say, it's okay if you get hit. None your biz. To talk peace. I talked to him without asking. First, does this make sense? Like during World War II. When the US and Japan negotiated peace, would it be okay not to let China participate? Only a rogue like Trump would do such a thing. Third point, regarding the peace agreement, European leaders are committed to preventing future Russian invasions Ukraine. Ukraine resists US military forces, but to deter and stop Russian attacks. Firstly, any peace talks must ensure Ukraine's security and stability, so that Ukraine will not fear Russian aggression in the future. This is important. Ukraine is resisting Russian aggression. Only then will Europe be safe. If Europe cannot withstand Russian aggression, how can United States be safe? The fourth consensus, establish parliamentary alliance. Who will participate? All help to protect Ukraine and ensure peace. This includes countries increasing defense spending, taking more responsibility. I will make another video discussing European countries, how they can increase their spending, and how they are preparing to take on more responsibility. UK sends troops to Ukraine, facing direct conflict with Russia. If the UK sends troops, Russia attack. It should be done to stop fire, to send troops. Sky's words, providing guarantees for any agreement, is to maintain peace. Now, for any agreement, you must ensure it won't be broken, which is to maintain peace. And maintaining peace means being prepared to defend it. You prepare for defense means you are ready to fight. You must be prepared to fight. You must be prepared to fight. Trump absolutely needs to see the UK's firm defense plan. You have Europe ready to act. Trump said he needs to see Europe's defense plan in order for Europe and Ukraine to have a key influence in negotiations with Russia. Otherwise, you can't play. I need to invest money now. Europe indeed needs to stand up. Not allowing Europe is unacceptable. This is very clear. When Zelensky went to meet Trump, Trump said, Europe's participation, what you prepared undertake. Therefore, Europe must have a firm defense plan. His envisioned peace plan includes 3 policies. Among them are 3 policies. First, Europe must ensure military support for Ukraine. There must be sufficient arms for Ukraine. Let Ukraine keep defendability battlefield. Maintain its position during negotiations. You must be able to fight and then negotiate. Avoid Ukraine forced in a bad position. If aren't enough people to fight, what would you say? So first, why Ukraine's self-defense means? Second, the Anglo-French alliance, plus 1-2 other countries, send troops to Ukraine. The EU countries cannot reach a consensus. Will Germany send troops? Germany may not have the courage to send them. Third policy, first, arm Ukraine. Second, Europe deploy. Third, secure U.S. support. The U.S. supports European peacekeeping forces with aid. This could be intel support, air support. I personally believe Europe needs to cooperate with the U.S. to maintain peace in Ukraine. All right. If to block Russia, continue to advance into Europe. This matter reminds me, let me tell you, after the Napoleonic Wars, there were no wars in the 19th century because in the 19th century, it was Britain that led the world's peace. This is called Pax Britannica, the world peace British rule. How achieved at that time, Britain, with Palmerston and others, balance of power. In Europe, anyone tried to disrupt this balance of power. They would support the weaker side. This was Britain's strategy. To restrain anyone, take aggressive action. This, after the Napoleonic Wars. At this time, Napoleon III was determined to spy on Britain to maintain peace, ensure the stability of Europe. Therefore, throughout the 19th century, only saw a few major wars. One of them was Crimean War, which was to halt Russia's enter Europe. It started by the UK. I need to speak Crimean War. Following was Italian Unity Campaign, well as German. Then there was peace decades until the First World War. It was due to the rise of Germany, which changed the balance of power in Europe. It disrupted the European power balance. This is the balance of power, a system led by Britain and managed. The Crimean War. The collapse of the European dominance. Russia believed entering Europe, especially access the Mediterranean, and chance to take Balkan Peninsula. In the Balkans, European control nearly found. Russia wanted to gain control of the Dardanelles, Bosphorus, control. So they sent troops to fight. It was British, French, Turkish alliance against Russia. The war lasted 2 years. In 14 days, the battles took place regions. Allied troops won. The Treaty of Paris was signed. Russia lost control of the Balkan Peninsula, but retained Crimea. Crimea held the most. Tatars. Thus Russia did not expand westward, turned expand eastward. After this event, they began to invade China, swiftly expanding eastward, until they clashed with Japan. Let's take a look at their current strategy, which is that we must not let Ukraine be lost. We need to set a defensive line. This defensive line's front line is in Ukraine. Even if it must be like this. This is Europe's defense line. Europe's defensive line. Defensive line of Europe is where both sides have the most troops. They are confronting each other here. Confronting each other here. If you don't confront them here, I'll tell you simply, Ukraine will be engulfed. Russia gains 40 million people. Here, Russia, backpile, 200 million. There will be immense pressure here. Poland will be under great pressure. Romania will be under great pressure. Therefore, for Europe to protect itself, hold Ukraine against Russia. Is this clear? Another matter. Is it UK? Met King Charles. King Charles met with Zelensky to express support for him. Let me tell you, in front of warm fireplace, they talked for about an hour. It's clearly a stance against Trump, showing his support. This is, for our country, a truly special moment. He joked with me that the king served in the Royal Air Force. From now on, in Ukraine, every pilot is a king because they are so important. The Russia-Ukraine conflict. Charles been a supporter of Zelensky and Ukraine, although he doesn't have actual say, and diplomacy have no real say compared to his mother. He is eager to share his stance. No, eating okay, by the Prime Minister. Sky. That the UK is united in its support for Zelensky. Zelensky went Downing Street. People were cheering. They were clapping, treating him as a hero. So recently, news came out that Zelensky and the US will sign another resistance agreement. Everyone needs to find a way to step down. But whether you step down or not, Europe will ignore the U.S. Support Ukraine so the U.S. cannot betray Ukraine because Europe is backing it.